like now my demographics, I'm seeing 13 to 20 like peak up. So,
Oh, that's
uh,
a good thing. I know I haven't gotten a lot of what I see. Let's see, start recording. So, a lot of what I see with us is we jump around a lot in the sense of our numbers will go. It's so our numbers are mostly based around our shorts too,
mhm.
but a lot of what I see is we kind of stay within that age group of. It says we're live, but we stay within that about.
Okay, I'm seeing.
Okay, yeah, I just heard it play on the.
Yep,
There he
I muted
is.
it though.
That's good. But a lot of what I'm seeing with ours is it's the 20, what I say, 24 to 44 age group or 48 age group, something like that. So we have a decent age group with what we're doing. But a lot of ours is like you're bringing them in with jokes and such with your channel, dad mode activated. For us, you look at a lot of the stuff we're putting out, a lot of it is stuff along the lines of, oh, criminy, what would you call it? We just take clips of our shows that are discussing the topics at hand. I
Yeah,
mean, like this time we're talking about creating a connection with your kids. And for anyone that subscribes to our channel, they end up getting all the shorts telling them about like little snippets. So if you don't have time to watch the entire show, you can get the little snippets, comment, and then I try to comment back if your comment makes sense enough that I can answer it, or it's not one of these quick and shallow comments where you're like, I think this is great. Thumbs up. I I don't know what else to say to that kind of stuff.
yeah. I saw. Well, I saw one with kind of like I'm trying to do like the analytics of like how to engage more. And they say like when you get a comment, like ask a question with your comment. So like when they're like, great job, and like, well, what did you take away from it? And that kind of opens up the dialogue. Because they said that's what YouTube likes is like they like having the uh the back and forth and the dialogues and conversations. Um,
Right.
but it's funny because I was looking up your Facebook and I saw somebody like on our one video about like the different cultures and stuff. And I made one comment about like I have more respect for somebody that believes in something I don't believe in as different than I
Right.
do as somebody's an atheist. And like I saw a person that like got like mad. They're like, you don't really read the Bible then? Like atheists know the Bible. I'm like, there's a difference between knowing what something says. It's like the difference between like um knowledge and wisdom.
Oh
Like
yeah.
knowledge is I know it. So I'm like, there's a complete difference. Like I feel like I was like, I'm not gonna let my frustrations get to me because I mean there's trolls out there.
Right.
As much as I would love to have a dialogue with that, like I feel like that'd be a good inlay. Especially since I think it was a female that did it. So
Well, see,
um,
and that's the problem that it comes down to is you have you have people that are constantly telling you, and not just like you alone, but like us, and telling the world they thrive off of trying to be that person that's always right. Oh, look at me. I'm this. I know everything better than you. Blah blah blah. And there we go. And then it comes down to is they're really doing a lot of this just so they can feel like they're superior.
yeah,
And what I find is I've and I'm not saying everybody's this way because I'm not putting everyone in one big group, but I find that one of the reasons, and maybe it's just because I'm Gen X and I don't like people in general, but I find that I've gotten to the point of most people nowadays want to try to get this endorphin feeling like, oh, if I argue with them, I got them. Even
Yeah.
if no one wins a point. And I kind of related to like trying to argue with my daughter who's 4 years old and trying to explain to her about modern economics, and she's trying to talk to me about her little dolls and how they're trying to play. One person doesn't understand what the other's saying, and the other person's getting frustrated, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because nothing's getting accomplished.
Yeah,
So,
it's kind of funny you say that because like obviously my son's 7. We got our puppy. He's an Australian Shepherd. He's about a year old, and my son's like, I wish like because I told him like basically like dogs don't understand what we're saying. They just kind of they understand tones.
mhm,
Like they understand like if I'm upset, if I'm angry, they can sense like what I'm feeling, but they don't know what I'm saying. And it kind of sounds like what you're saying is like kids can kind of generalize, understand like where our hearts are, the way we're talking to them, even if they
right.
have no idea what we're talking about.
It is that way. But I think a lot of it boils down to is going back to the wisdom versus knowledge. And I think Pancakes and I discussed this, or Tom and I discussed this. I think it was Tom and I discussed it last episode, where you can have my son incredibly smart. He has intelligence out the backside and then some.
Hmm.
The problem comes down to is that he's he has the knowledge, but he doesn't have the wisdom to implement it and all this. He just had a birthday party this past weekend, and one thing that was said was the um the kids kept talking about how smart he was, how he's one of the smartest kids, if not the smartest when it comes to the topics for their nature class. Well, you think about it, he can tell you a lot about the different animals, the different creatures, all this stuff. He's highly focused on it. But if you ask him what does it mean in real world, or if you ask him to kind of put that in a sense that is useful, then he kind of draws a blank because he knows the information.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have the wisdom to implement it yet in a way that's useful. So that's a lot of what I'm trying to work on teaching him. And I think for him and I, a lot of like our bond is just me constantly being there, trying to teach him, work with him, all this stuff. And one thing is as we deal with a lot of what people say and a lot of people think of us and all this, I've gotten I've gotten to the point a long time ago that people can hate me all they want. I'm I've realized I'm not the friendliest person in the world, and I'm okay with that because it's one of those things that I've lived a rough life in my own way. We all no one lived a perfect life, and if you have, you're one of the unique ones. But
Yeah.
I've I've gone to where I've had a lot of people I've known come and go in my life. Some in a good path, others, it's they pass, they just disappear, different things, you know? And I've come to realize that when it comes to what other people think, the only people that really matter is what my family thinks.
Hmm.
Because, and don't take this the wrong way, but like, say 5 years down the road, if we're not doing this, the likelihood is we're going to sit there and go, I remember that guy. He was a good guy. I enjoyed talking with him, etc., etc. But I'm not going to sit there and go, I wonder what he thought of me. I wonder what he's thinking about me now. Anything like that, because in all truth, you're probably not thinking about me. So for me, and like we were talking about how I started a new job, one of the things I told in my interview is my first priority will always be my family. I will walk away from anything that I feel is going to be bad to my family. Then everything else can be prioritized. Well, actually, it's faith, family, and everything else. And from there, it's just the fact of my work will usually come before most stuff for the fact of I need to support my family. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But people, they lose concept of what really matters. And like, I think a lot of people, they don't build connections with anyone anymore. I think they just want to argue. They just want that dopamine fix of, look, I got them. Look how good I am. So on and so on. You know what I mean?
The thing too is that like you're in the modern age where you have the ability to sit here 2, 3,000 miles away and you get the instant dopamine rush of I can say whatever I want and there's no repercussions because the person's on the other side of the world, or the other side of the country. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I definitely, I can definitely understand that, and um, I think this is like kind of like one of the things I went through when I went through my custody um, case, and like going to court and like constantly being told I'm a certain thing, um, and like the thing I was always able to kind of like balance myself out on was uh, I know my truth. Like I know who I am. I know what I am. God
Mm-hmm.
knows who I am. He knows my heart. He knows direction. And even though there was things that would upset me in real time, I was able to lay my head on knowing that like regardless of what happens here, like I know who I am and I can rest my head on that on my so I completely understand what you're saying. And honestly, you like what random people think about you really doesn't matter. I mean, obviously you want your close group of people, like you want them to look up to you and kind of see you as an example. I think that translates back to parenting. Um, you know, kind of going through the challenges of life and adversity. I kind of I'm grateful for it because it kind of gives me a measuring stick to what was like what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. I've started a new thing with my faith with being like having gratitude. And honestly, like my son's almost 8 years old, and I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, man, by 8 years old, like some of the worst things that ever happened to me had already happened. And I'm like to be able to look. I was at the playground. The weather's finally starting to break here, and like I was looking at my son, and like he was running and he was happy, and I was like, that's amazing. Like I look at the hard work I put in, and I
Mm-hmm.
see him, regardless of like me being separated from his mother. Like we're doing pretty well with co-parenting, but like to see my son genuinely smile and like know that that's not like covering up anything, uh, that was incredible. Like especially, I feel like I have that marker of I can compare what is not acceptable and not okay for being for what I wish I like of what I didn't have as a kid. And I'm able to use it as a measuring stick to how I parent him. So, like at the end of the day, like that gratification, he's almost 8. It's taken almost 8 years to be able to see that, but like I see what the work is because like that's not something that you get just overnight. Like that's something that has to like build up, build up, build up, and that's like kind of a good leeway into our conversations with our
Our
like
topic.
building
Yeah.
that bond with our kids is like that bond isn't, especially as dads, like that bond isn't promised to us. Like
Oh, no.
none of it's promised. The only thing that's promised is like you could have your signature on a birth certificate, but like I know we've talked about before in our other conversations, like with our relationships with our fathers or our parents, um, and name their father or mother, but like their lack of follow through and their lack of like putting energy into us. They might be our dad or mom, but like I know I'm at the stage where like kind of estranged from my father, and like he's my father, but he's not my dad.
Yeah.
Like you earned that title, and now he's starting to fall back on health and other things, and like I went through this the other day, and I'm like, I feel like a bad son. Like I know this is justified, but like I don't. I'm almost more agitated at the things that are wrong with this health wise and like being a burden. And like that's a pretty crappy feeling. Um, so that's why like I think about like building that bond with our kids. Like it's so important. Like, and it can't be superficial. You know,
Right.
I made a I made a video a couple of weeks ago about like dating a single dad for women, and like how like the red flags that you should look out for is like if you're following him on social media and he's got a lot of extra time and he's using his kids as props, he's probably not a good dad. Like the things you should look out for is like is are there if you do post pictures of your kids, like are you in moments or are you in staged events? Like I feel
Right.
like um yeah, so I feel like I'm
See,
going off a little on a tangent, but
oh, we trust me, tangents is our bread and butter here, I think. But no, I mean it does make sense, and I think a lot of single parents have it rough when it comes to dating. That's for sure. Because the one thing I see, and obviously I'm not in this that world, so I don't have a full grasp of it, but my mom was a single mom for quite a few years and what have you before my stepdad came into the picture. And I've had plenty of dads that I've been friends with that are single parents, and I see what they've gone through. And like, I've had a buddy that he just gave up on dating because every time a girl would find out he had a kid, it was like, oh, well, I don't want that responsibility. I don't want somebody else's kid. And I understand that because I've dated girls with kids in my much, much younger years, and it was a pain. It
yeah.
was because as much as you want to be attached to them, one, if you're dating them, you always have that thought of, well, if this ends, then it's not just the girl you're ending it with. You're ending it with the kid. You're ending it with the connection between the whole family group and what so have you. Because if it's as soon as you get to that point where the dating leads into you getting to know the kid, and then you have all these different factors come into play. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong that that's what's happening, but you have these things that play into. That's why I think a lot of times I've seen single parents meet other single parents and kind of date because they understand the consequences and everything that goes involved. Where if you have a single dad with a girl that has no kids, the whole concept, it almost feels like the girl wants to play more house than
Mhm.
play. And
Well,
yeah,
I think the hardest part too is when I'm at that stage where like I really don't I really don't want the burden of like dating. Like I started to try to date, and like I felt guilty. I'm like, this is time I could be like, even though I'm not with my son, like I'm like, this is time I could be like, well, what if he calls and I can't answer? And I think one of the things too about like as much as like the attractive part is like a thing about a woman that doesn't have kids, like I feel like at this stage in life they just want something different, and they truly don't understand what it's like to be a parent. Like like for people that like don't have kids and like they talk about like their animals, like their babies, their kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, you really just don't understand. Like, I know we talked about before, but like, I thought I knew what love was, and the moment I met my son, like I had this overwhelming rush of love. Like, I've never loved anything more than I've loved this thing, this little person in front of me I've never met before. But I would do anything for this kid. I would do anything. I would protect him. Um, and that's like the part like the people that don't have kids just don't understand. So like I get like the burden part of like having kids. Um, I know my ex had kids prior to me. She when I met her, my former stepson was right about my son's age now. He was I think 6, and but we instantly had a bond. And I think that was, I mean, other than my direct like the problems with going through custody, one of the hardest parts was losing my stepson, because we built that bond and like I fell in love with this kid and he was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like one of the first things I lost was when the relationship was like it's over, we're going to court. Like she was like, "You're not seeing my son anymore," and it's like I built that bond with him. Like he wasn't just her son. Like he's not my blood, but he's my son. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, like it's this is one things I talk about being like being true to yourself. And people can say what they want about you, but consistency is like the one thing that's gonna is gonna carry on with you. So like you can say all this stuff you want about me, but if I'm consistent and true to who I am, like regardless of what you say, that's gonna outlast whatever you say about me. So like a year and a half later, it was like Christmas Day. My old stepson comes out, and it's crazy because he's like a foot taller now than he was the last time I saw him. And like he runs over, gives me a hug, tells me he loves me, and I'm like he went from like bending down to hug this little kid. Now I'm like hugging somebody that's like an inch shorter than me. Um, so like I think that's like one thing about like starting to date somebody else with kids is like you kind of have to have that mindset. Like my job isn't to be this kid's parent. My job is to be a good example for them, a good example in addition. And again, with the consistency, like they might not like you now, but eventually that consistency is being somebody that they can count on is how you build that bond with them. I don't think some people are mature enough when they start dating again. I don't think they think about other things. Like again with like I feel like narcissism is like one of the worst things that's out there. And a lot of those bad parents out there are narcissistic. So they just don't even have the ability or capability to be in a relationship or like care about anybody else than themselves. And honestly, those type of people, the only thing they care about is what is visual to everybody else. So even like if they look really super happy on social media, the likelihood of them having any true relationship with any kid or even another man or another woman, like I feel like those are just impossible.
Yeah. Well, like you, one thing that you made a comment about was the fact of you feel like the dating somebody else, the connection that you would have with your kids, it would interfere with them. There's also the fact of the connection that you build with your kids, like for me. And one thing that we said that we were going to look at this topic is how you don't need all these tools and all these things to build that connection, because a lot of people, they're like, I think when you date somebody, you're trying to almost feel like you're forcing a new relationship, a new connection onto your kids.
Mhm.
And which, I mean, you want the kid to like the girl you're with, but the same note, it's like not everyone get along. Not everyone gets along, and it is what it is. It's for better or worse, you got to deal with it. But it's like my son. We sat down and we did math map, this homeschooling math program, and literally, he is. I make the joke all the time. He's a bad Asian. He's horrible at math. He's getting better, but hey, I tell him he's a bad Asian, but he's a great American mutt. So
It's funny. I'm a huge pop culture guy. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie 21 and Over. Like, the one kid's name is Jeff Chang, and like he's horrible at math, so he's not living up to his dad's standards because of like he needs to like be a doctor, but he sucks at math. He's like, you're the worst Asian. um,
well, what
yeah,
is it? There's a comedian, a YouTuber, and he makes jokes about how his parents are disappointed in him because no matter how popular or how well he does as YouTube, he's not a lawyer, he's not a doctor, he's not an accountant. And
yeah, I know you're talking. He's on Netflix, right?
I don't know if he's done Netflix. I've seen him on YouTube. I don't have Netflix, so we don't really have much TV at our house. I think we have like Answers and Angel, Amazon Prime, just because we have the Prime for delivery, so we have the video.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just did the YouTube family where you don't have the commercials.
Yeah.
So I can let them watch shows now without having the commercials be a concern. But but back to my point before I went off on my weird tangent. Just sitting with him and taking the effort to do work with him, even if we're at the point that we both want to strangle each other or smack each other or whatever it is, we're both sitting there and fighting through this with each other to get done. And I think that's part of the building because like my son just loves being around me. My daughter, I'm constantly trying to teach her stuff. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I bought an app for like $20 a year to help her learn how to read. And it's entertaining. I bought stuff. My son, he's homeschooled, so a lot of stuff he gets is stuff that we buy year subscriptions for to help him improve. Like the different math stuff we've done with him is insane. One thing I love is this AI math called Synthesis Tutor, and it's fantastic. But like even there's one called Legends. It's not math, but it's a confidence building program. They send you a text every day. It's Build Legends or Legends, something like that. And it's actually quite nice in the sense that both the child and the parent sits down and does it together. And you talk like your mindsets, how to change, how to look at different tools to build up your confidence, not let things get you down. And most times you would expect it to be something where it's, oh, you just give this to your kid, you let your kid go through the program. This one here is designed where the parent sits with the kid. They go through it together. They both answer the same questions. They give different answers. You can talk to your kid about, like, what was, I think recently it asked about, what is something you're really nervous about? And again, I just started a new job. Well, most people that start a new job are nervous about it. I'm going, because here's the fact. I left a job where I wasn't the most liked employee by the upper people, but I contributed a lot. I did a lot. My job was safe. I was unlikely to get a promotion because I upset somebody on a higher level. But I had a safe job, you know. I had no worries of the job losing. The company wasn't going to go away because it's one of the largest companies in my field. And I went to a company that they have high expectations. They want to see all these things. I mean, the list of what they expected out my first week when I read it, I'm sitting there going, holy criminy. How am I going to do this? I'm like,
Yeah, I always tell
what?
people like starting a job, it's like anything that's like super technical. It's like drinking water from a fire hose in that
Yeah.
initial start.
Well, yeah. But like, he knows that I'm starting a new job. He knew that
Yeah.
I was starting. And when he saw that, we talked about, well, yeah, I'm going to go in and act like I'm confident. I'm going to fake it till I make it because I need to make sure that I don't come across as inept at my job. And so I'm putting out all these different things. We can do this to make this better. We can do this. Now I'm running we're we're in my second week of the job and I'm already running meetings.
Mhm.
It's like good, but at the same time it's like, okay, so I need to teach these people that I don't know how to do something. I don't know their skill levels. But the nice thing about this Legends app is I was filling it out. My son was then also seeing, okay, well, dad might not show that he's scared, but he still has fear. He just has to face it. He knows that he has to do these things.
Yeah,
It's like that.
I think about that and like going back to building that bond, and I think that one of the mistakes that a lot of parents make is like they don't allow themselves to be in the moment with their kids. Like they're constantly trying to do everything else. Like they park their kid in front of a TV, they park their kid in front of a tablet, let them do whatever they want, but they don't have the opportunities to have those one-on-one moments. And I
Hmm.
think like one of the most amazing things I think that being a single dad kind of like gave to me was like it provided me those opportunities to maximize my times with him. And like I don't have enough time to be able to give away time away with him. Like I don't want him to go over and sit by himself. Like I want to be with him. I want to be down drawing. And I feel like when you're doing that stuff, you kind of open up you kind of open up paths to have those little conversations. Like there's often so many times like my son's like we draw together to play Legos, but like now like we'll be sitting and talking and like drawing. He's like, Dad, what was one thing you were really scared of as a kid? And I'm like, man, I was like, what was I scared of? And it's
Depends on
like
the
he opened
age.
he starts opening up these things that challenge me, and I'm like, that's what's amazing. And I feel like too many parents just put too much pressure on themselves to feel like they have to be perfect. And honestly, like the most the best thing you can do as a parent is just be available. Like your best
Hmm.
ability is your availability. Um, so like just be in moments with them. And like I feel like especially again going back to like the adversity thing, like that was like regardless if I would have had all the toys I would have wanted, if I would have had any games, because that's what I tell my son. Like I'm like anything I buy you, it might seem pretty awesome right now, but it's probably gonna be something you forget. Like I don't remember toys I had as a kid. I don't remember a game I got or a game system. What I do remember
Mm,
is, even though they're very few and far between, it was like the times where like my dad would take me sledding or something like that. Like that's the memory that burns into my head. So that's why I'm like, anytime I have the opportunity, like I'm gonna choose a experience over like possessions. So
right.
like what's like one of my favorite things, and I think this is like the one thing I'm feeling struggling with right now is um my son's almost 8 years old and he's like pretty much exiting that little kid phase. And like this first like 4 or 5 years being a single dad, like I go to this one school complex and they have like a bunch of we call the elementary schools. There's like a K through 1, and then 2 through 3, and then a 3 through 5. And all these schools are within one footprint, and
Mm,
each school has like 3 or 4 playgrounds. So like there's 10 playgrounds in this one area.
jeez.
Um, and there's a bunch of fields, there's tennis courts, there's a football field, a baseball field. there's a stream, there's some woods, so like there's wildlife around, there's playgrounds, and like these moments are like the ones where I'm like, I bring a bug catcher out. We go catch some bugs.
Hmm.
We find a bug, then we look up what kind of bug it is, and like then he asked me like, well, what was your favorite bug? What were you scared of? And I got we'll go over the stream. We'll just have like a net that we got at the dollar store and have like a little bowl, catch some crayfish, and like that doesn't cost any money. Like yeah, there's I'm spending a couple dollars to buy the fishing net and the bowl, but like out of that couple dollars that we spent, like the memories that we have, like catching the crawfish, him asking me questions about us looking like up what do they eat, how long do they live, how big can they get, and like we're seeing all that stuff, and it just is building that bond. And like again, like I feel like so many parents just overthink it and like just be there and like allow opportunities. Like like I'm big into like pop culture. Like I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh yeah.
There's like Jason Segel and Paul Rudd, and like Paul Rudd's the surf instructor, and he's like trying to teach him how to surf, and he's like, "You're doing too much, do less." And like Jason, he goes to pop up, and he's like, "Pop up," and he's like, "You're doing too much, do less." And like then like Jason Segel's character is just like laying on the ground. He's like, "Well, now you're just laying there. So like it's either you're doing too much, trying too hard, you burn yourself out, or you get to the point where you feel like you're not doing enough, so just do nothing." And it's like you got to find that middle ground. But
Well, I think
um,
that kind of mindset there kind of also represents also a lot of you keep trying to do so much and then you get to a point that you're just like, I'm done. I'm just laying down. I get told I'm doing too much all the time. If I'm not doing too much is a bad thing, then I'm gonna just do nothing. And
yeah,
I think that's also what happens where they're like, oh, we went and we did this and we went and did this and we went to the zoo, then we went to the park. And the weekend was so full that Sunday I just gave the kids TV. Like, I'll be honest, my son's birthday party, it was a great time, right? And my muscles were sore as the dickens because Friday evening after work, I mowed the grass, I trimmed all the bushes. I woke up Saturday morning, power washed the house, tried to chase a squirrel out of the attic. I mean, I did all this stuff, and then my wife's setting up the decorations, and then yelling at me saying, "Hey, we need to set up this," and I'm like, "All right." And my wife's Chinese, so she likes to think she's tall until she reaches for something, and then she needs somebody that has a little bit of height. So, but I'll be honest with you, she had everything planned out. It looked great. All this she did all the decorations, but just after doing everything, and then I'm not a big people person. Like being around a lot of people is just exhausting to me.
yeah,
I can do it for work if I'm getting paid to do it, or I can do it if I have to do it for my kids. But if I have the choice, give me 3 or 4 buddies, some beers, a campfire, and some bad jokes, and I'm all set. You know. But
well, it's funny you say that because like back to like the dad jokes. That's kind of where I initially started like the idea for it. Is
hmm
like a lot of times at work I run meetings, and like I always use the dad joke to start out the meeting to kind of break through the walls, kind of break through the monotony, like because they kind of like disarm you and kind of like wow, that's really dumb, and like but like it breaks like your inhibitions to be like smug or whatever. Um,
right,
but here's a question I have is like the one thing I always like you talk about being tired and like just wanting to relax. Um, do you ever get like when you're in that position and you're feeling that way and your kids ask you to do something and like you have that moment where you're like just leave me alone, just let me relax here. And like for me I always have like that um the battle of good and evil, like, And like part of me's like, I'm just gonna say relax. And like 1 second later, I'm like, this could be the last time he asks you to do this. Like, think about what you're gonna say next, how that's gonna affect what happens moving forward. I'm like, I have that internal battle. And I'm like I just close my eyes first thing. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Because I'm
See,
like,
I,
if I say no, I'm like, because it's like, it's really weird. Because I think up to this point, I've done a really good job of teaching my son like between like what's right and what's wrong. And
mhm.
like this is like one of like the full circle moments. Like it's weird. Like I never have any arguments with my son. Like I know it's eventually gonna happen, but like he'll be watching TV. I'm like, okay, bud, it's time to go. He turns off the TV. He's playing a game. I'm like, all right, bud, we gotta go. He turns off the game. Doesn't argue with me. Yeah, we went to the planetarium the other day, and he already got like one little toy at the planetarium. So we walk over to the science museum, and we're in the gift shop. And he's like, Dad, can I get this? And I was like, no, not today, boy. I was like, you already got something. He's like, okay. And I'm like, damn it. Like he said, like he didn't argue with me, he didn't fight with me. And like in my mind, I'm like, I want him to like. I thought he was gonna be like, well, I really want this, and he didn't. Like, but him like being humble enough to be like, no, I don't. Okay, like just okay, like he's trusted me enough over time that like he knows that like there are good things that come. It doesn't like
Right.
just because I say no this time doesn't mean I'm gonna say no next time. So like him him just doing it like made me like I'm like ah he's such a good kid. I'm gonna get it for him.
I think there's every kid is different. There's no question about that. I mean, I can see that just with between my daughter and my son. My daughter has an attitude for miles, and my son, we're doing a confidence building program, and where basically, but my son was also an advanced reader, highly intelligent. And my daughter, she's a little girl aging at girls' rates. And so one thing like for me is I have to teach my son there's a time for stuff and there's a time not. Because he would want a rough house, and he's 8 years old, so he wants to fight. And like I also have to remind him, and I know this is going to piss some people off, but tough. I have to remind him that girls are weaker than boys. You cannot roughhouse with girls the same way you roughhouse with me.
Luckily, I don't think there's anybody watching that will get offended by that.
Yes, but you'd be amazed on how many people
Someone will share it.
the shorts will come up with women are weaker than men. Cut.
Snip that one little part.
Yeah. But the fact is I have to remind them you have to understand there's rules and there's times for things. You can't roughhouse with your mom like you do with me. You can't you can't be as rough with your sister as you do with me. And he's not as rough with his sister, but he forgets that she's a little girl. So when I'm exhausted and I just need a time to rest, and I'm like, okay, we are going to watch Clifford the Big Red Dog. We're going to watch, and we have a limited shows. Like we'll watch Sea Kids on Answers or the Tuttle Twins. The Tuttle Twins is great because then we start discussing how the government's messing up and the fact of they're overprinting money causing inflation. And my kids will have an economic discussion with somebody.
It's like modern day Captain Planet.
Basically, without all the green hippie tree hugger stuff. But my son's.
As you finish that, let's go through a real quick point after that.
Yeah, but my point going to is like, I will say no, we can't do this. I need to rest because, like, I'm exhausted. With my schedule, I wake up, I get my daughter to school, I homeschool my son in the mornings, in the evenings. I work full time. I work a 50 to 60 hour a week. I am always moving. When my wife is at the office, I'm also prepping dinner, doing laundry. I am beat to death by the end of the day. So, and I'll try to roughhouse with my son a little bit. I'll try to play with the kids. I'll push them, what so have you. But at a certain point, your muscles are so tired that you just can't lift your arms. You're like, I'm done. I can't. We need. You have to understand. This is not the time for this. No, let's stop and rest.
Yeah, I think that's like the dynamic between like being a single dad and like how it's got to be different being part of a nuclear family. Is again like I talk about is like I only have limited opportunities to be the best version of myself. So
Yeah.
like obviously there's a lot of times where I don't have him. Like right now he's at his mom's house, and like these are the times where like it's time for me to rest. But then like when he's here, it's like I need to be fully engaged. So um, there definitely is like that different dynamic that's got to be hard to be like part of a full time family where your kids are around all the time because you need to find that balance. Like you can't just do what they want all the time, and it's a little
Hmm.
easier for the time I have. Like we might stay up late, and I'll say yes to doing other things, but like I have to do it. Whereas like somebody that has a wife, the mom can kind of like have her time too, and you can
Hmm.
have your time while you're all together still. Um, that's why you talk about like the like the TV and what you guys watch. Well, it's funny that we talk about like the titles about like the government stuff. But I was researching like Captain Planet because it was like one of my favorite shows as a kids, and I didn't realize that like basically there was the the guy that created it was basically like doing a giant fu to um like corporate greed, and
Hmm.
like he literally made episodes that were like aiming towards like the oil industry, and he would make like the evil guy be like a real guy that was in real life. um
Hmm.
so like you go and look at that, it's pretty interesting. uh but I was funny, I saw a meme the other day, and it was like a dad meme, and it shows like do you guys ever watch Bluey?
No,
So like if you've ever watched it, it's a really wholesome show. It's like
that's what I hear.
the dad's like really like probably like the best dad you could imagine. Like, and it's basically like the dad's looking in the mirror. And it's like looking in the mirror, trying to see the man I'm trying to be. And it's like a picture of Bingo or Bandit, the dad from Bluey in the mirror. Um, so it's pretty funny. Like honestly, like shows like that, like I would I would tell dads like if you can watch that stuff with your kids and like have something in common with your kids, these kid shows don't have to be like just for them. Like obviously like number blocks is the most annoying thing that's ever existed. Like one time like my
Yeah.
son like like we had a YouTube video, but like it was like counting up to like a trillion. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Y- one thing like my kids really get into shows like that we watched when I was younger and such. So it part of for like I mentioned Clifford the Big Red Dog,
Mhm.
the show we're watching, or I remember watching the Pink Panther, and my kids love the Pink Panther. So these are things that we would watch and do and enjoy, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I remember this," and we'll watch some older movies. Like I'm gonna get some of the older Disney movies before Disney went woke. That's part of the reason like we've never seen Bluey is because we don't I don't
Oh,
let
it's on
Disney
Disney.
in the house.
Oh, if you're on
So
YouTube, it's on YouTube. That's how my
is it?
sister watches it.
Oh, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, she watches the full episodes on YouTube.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. So I'll have to get it and see if my kids want to watch it. So,
Yeah, it's
but
like there's like times like like he'll go to the bathroom, and I'm sitting and watching it. Like I realize it's like two episodes have gone on since my son's left the room. And I'm like I'm still watching it. Like It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah. Well, I find it funny. You think about it, it's like, what is it? When before I had kids, and this for some reason always rung so true and funny to me. There was a comedian that was talking about how he was watching a show with his kids, and he was like 5 episodes in before he realized his kids were no longer watching the show. And I'm like, how do you watch a kids show without your kids there? And now I understand, like, I'm tired. I'm sitting there and we're watching something like My Little Pony my daughter wants on, right? And a couple episodes in, and it's like, where did the kids go? Oh, they're downstairs. And I'm like, hey, are you guys watching the show? I'm going to turn it off if not. Then they come back up, they watch a little bit because I don't really care to watch it, but it's easy to have it on. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh, this has been a couple episodes and the kids have been playing with their toys downstairs, which is good.
Yeah, there's nothing cooler than like when like you bring your kids into like stuff that like means that's like important to you. Like last Saturday, I just usually I can't turn something on in front of him and be like, okay, let's watch it. But like last Saturday morning, like he was sleeping and I was like Family Matters was on TV. So I have Family Matters on, and he comes out and he's watching Urkel, and he's like he thought that was really funny. Like that was one of the shows I loved as a kid.
Right.
Family Matters. But like we've sat and watched Scooby Doo like from the 70s. We watched like what's it called? Mary Poppins. Like he loves It's a Wonderful Life. Like I think like
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. He loved that one.
Yeah.
Even though there's some like weird parts in it, but
yeah,
I think like kids want to know who their dad is, and like I feel like when you watch stuff like that, you're kind of telling your story of who you are. Like me and my son, we listen to when we go to the playgrounds, I'll have Elvis on in my pocket, so we're listening to Elvis, and we do that because my mom was a huge Elvis fan. So that's kind of like when my mom passed away when I was younger, and it's kind of like my way to like to bring her up. So like these type of things that we share with our kids is a way of bringing them into like kind of tell them our story too, which I think is pretty cool. And it's pretty cool when they're receptive to it. Like
right.
It's I mean like we watch like The Sandlot, and we were watching Space Jam on Saturday.
Okay.
I can't believe he's 30 years old.
Oh, I was about ready to turn on Spaceballs, and then I'm like,
they're making a second one.
I know, and this is what I hate when they do remakes, especially because the second one's not being made by Mel Brooks, is it? Or
no, it is.
Is it?
It's all the original cast. What's his name?
Well, it can't be all the original cast.
Well, yeah, John Candy's dead, but barf.
Yes.
What was the guy's name? He was in Ghostbusters. He stopped acting because his wife passed away.
The
one that played the helmet.
Yeah. He also was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah.
All 4 movies of those. Moranis. Yes, Moranis.
So he's coming back.
Nice.
Coleman's coming back, and his son's in the movie too with him.
Right. Well, here's the thing: is like Spaceballs is a funny movie, but like
I haven't brought that one to him yet, but
yeah, I'm sitting there going, man, I want to watch this because like there's like what was it? I was gonna watch a show with them, and I'm like, what was it? We started watching a show that was great when I was a kid. And then as I'm watching it, I'm sitting there going, this is stupid. How did I not become retarded watching this show? And yeah. I forget what it was, but it was like, they weren't interested. And I think my kids are, and this makes me proud, I think my kids are more intelligent than I was when I was their age. And my goal is to make them more intelligent than I will ever be. I want to give them, I talk to them like they're adults. I explain everything to them like they're adults. I explain, hey, whatever decision you make, good or bad, there's a good or bad consequence that follows with it. You make your decisions. And I explain these things and I talk to them so that they understand things on a higher level than, well, no, you don't do that because I said no. I mind there are some things like I try to explain to him like where bad words came from because he sees graffiti and things like that. We live in a city or in a suburb of a city outside of DC, and skate parks, they have to have kids do what they do. So
Yeah.
I explained to him this and that, but he's like, well, what's the origin of the F word? And I'm like,
Did you ever listen to that one documentary, like the origin of the word? And like they show like all the different things for it.
oh,
I'll send it to you
yeah,
offline.
yeah, I have to. But there's, as far as I know, and I don't know how accurate it was, is it was like the fornicate under the consent of the king. But then to explain,
It's an acronym.
basically, and that I don't know how true it is. I watched like a documentary that mentioned it, and I don't know if it was actually, now looking back, I don't know if it was a joke or if it was a real thing,
We're
but
probably talking about the same thing.
probably. Well, the thing was, is the acronym then became shorthand saying that you would have a permit because they didn't want the lower class having too many kids. So you would have to get consent to have a kid. So it was stuff like that. It
Well, I remember like my son like was hearing it in the first grade. That's like what's the worst about it, is like these kids like they learn all this stuff, and like I found out that he was like swearing in school. So like, I picked him up from school, and I was like, "So I heard you said this word," and he's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Well, why don't you say it in front of me?" I was like, "You're not gonna get in trouble." I was like, "Say the word," and like he said it so embarrassingly. I was like, "You know how uncomfortable you feel? That's how you know that is not a word you should be saying."
mhm. So,
Um,
and that's part of the big reason for building these connections that we do with our kids is because you can talk to them about these things. If you don't have the connections, it's like I guess the best example I have looking back, like my biological dad, I haven't talked to him in uh 15, 20 years, somewhere around there. But I remember my dad used to smoke pot when he was younger. We all did. I mean, most of us did. I'll say it that way. But like my wife never has. As far as I know, my mom never has. All this stuff. My mom was a very good two shoes. My wife has just never been around people that did it.
I
So,
definitely never bought it, but
eh, well, I've definitely bought it in my life. But the point being is that my dad found a joint in my bedroom when I was living at his house. And he started lecturing me on it, this and that. Well, what he didn't realize is every cookout he had where he invited his friends for over the years, like friends that he had from his high school years all the way to adult year, et cetera, because where I grew up, that was very common. Your friends and you stayed friends all this time. Like
yeah,
my best friend growing up, him and I still talk to each other like once a month or something through text message. But like I kid you not, we went so long one period without talking. He broke both his arms, healed, and perfectly fine, already out of rehab before I even found out he broke his arms. And I'm like, he's telling me about it. I'm like, has it been that long that we haven't talked? He's like, yeah, we both got busy, blah, blah, blah. But my point going is my biological father was trying to lecture me about smoking pot. And I looked at him, I said, if the worst thing I do is smoke pot, compared to you, I'm doing pretty damn good. And he goes, well, and he was trying to make him seem like he's never done this kind of stuff. And I'm like, listen, your friends get drunk and they talk. The things you've done makes what I'm doing look like I'm smoking a herbal cigarette. Because back in the 90s, you either smoked Marlboro Reds, Marlboro Lights, some menthol, probably Newports, or herbal cigarettes if you didn't want real tobacco. And so the herbal cigarettes was like clover cigarettes and such. They stunk like hell. But you get what I'm
Well,
saying.
it's interesting you say it, like, and like what we're talking about building that bond is, has your father been more active with you, done more of those things with you? When he came to you and said things like that, you might have been more receptive to it. But like, I feel like you kind of earn how your kids see you. You kind of earn that right. Like your anger and you saying I'm not gonna, like what you're saying has no, there's nothing behind what you're saying that makes
Right.
me feel any certain way. It's kind of like the difference between having empathy and sympathy is like empathy, I feel full, I feel with you. Sympathy, I feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
But if you're not there with me and you're not there teaching me along the way, like what you say now doesn't really have any merit. And that's kind of like, it's kind of the way I carry myself is like I want to be a good, I want to be a grandfather when my son has kids, and like now like I'm estranged from my dad, like, but he earned that right. Like he earned what he's, I mean he's almost 70 and he's like alone by himself, and he earned every single right about that. Um, so I think like we have a say in, and if we're gonna have that too, like we have the ability to make sure that we don't, that doesn't happen to us. Like that's in our control for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well, it's like I said, like I tell my son all the time, every decision you make, good or bad, the consequences of your decision will either benefit you or it will bring you down. If you make bad decision, bad things will happen. You might not see them right away. You might get away with doing like, say I kept smoking pot out. Let's say I did keep smoking pot out of high school and what so have you. Well, right then it would not have seemed like I was having any negative consequences other than I'm smoking. You know, it's no worse than drinking alcohol, as some people have said. But the fact is even drinking alcohol heavily, I drank. I would say I was an alcoholic, or I drank enough to be considered an alcoholic. I'll say it that way for many
mhm.
years. In my early 20s, I think even into my 30s, I was a partier. I would drink, I would go have fun and what so have you. If I didn't do those things, I realized how different my life would be. Now, if I would have kept smoking weed and had more of a let's just sit back and do nothing and kind of attitude, they I probably would have been the type of person that would have just, well, actually, I don't know. I don't know if I would have been the person that would have just let all everything go, not have that drive to fight for what I want and been like, because I always had to push myself to be better.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to like to the can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Sorry to plug in. So like it goes back to the knowledge and wisdom thing. It's like, are you putting knowledge on me or are you putting wisdom on me? It's like it's smoking pot and like your dad lectures you. There's a difference between like you lecturing me and trying to tell me what's right and what's wrong. Where you say, hey, when I was your age, I was a kid too. I made mistakes. I did this. You're gonna make that like I can't stop you from doing it. I was like, or I think about, I'm like, but when you start seeing these things, this is when you need to start getting in control of it. Like if you see yourself making these mistakes, like, and that's like one of the benefits of like making, like I always tell people, I'm like, I learned the most from my failures more than any successes I've ever had. So like if I can pass on that knowledge and that wisdom, like, hey, it's fun to do this until this, then that's like, that would have been a better conversation with you and your dad, I think.
Right.
Like if you're like, well, you're like, I can't just immediately shun you, and I can't try to make you feel shameful for what you're doing uh when I did it, like, because I feel like what was the difference between shame is like I am bad, and I can't remember what the other one is.
I don't know. But I do know that I think a big portion of it is for me, how I see it is like, I can explain to my son, hey, yes, and I tell my son all the time, I make mistakes. I've messed up in my life. I'm not perfect. I I know what's going on in the house because I have things set up so I can know what's going on in my house. Like I have cameras in all the appropriate places to where, but well, part of that's also because we hire a nanny so I can work full time as well while balancing that.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to let a nanny run around and have no supervision of her throughout the day. But
Your nanny's like, why are there so many teddy bears in this house?
oh no, I have the cameras are out in the open. I even in the interview, I'm like, and you don't worry, there's a camera there, 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 and there, and there, and there, and there.
It's a
So
Smiley Eye camera.
I'm like, so anything that happens, you don't have to worry about you getting blamed for something you didn't do. And that's how I word it is this is for your protection as well as ours. But the fact is like a lot of what I see it as is if I had to explain to my son, say down the road, he's like, Dad, I want to drink a bottle of your wine. Like, okay, well, let's talk about it. Do you want to drink it to get drunk? Do you want to be stupid? Because you see how your Uncle Adam and I get when we drink too much. And, you see how we are the next day. My first hangover was from a bottle of homemade wine from my step grandfather, who made it his mission to be the first to get every grandchild hungover. And as far as I know, he did just that and did it quite well. So, oh, my stepdad loved the next day. He was not quiet in the least. He was intentionally banging stuff around. And then he made me go out and help him in yard work during the summertime. So, first time being hungover, having to sweat your backside off. And yeah, it wasn't fun. But
I love you wake up, you're like, I need electrolytes.
well, back then I had no idea. I think I was like
I need a cheeseburger.
12. I think I was 12 years old or something like that. But still not better. But the fact is I can talk to my son about, you see the things I've done. I'm not perfect. And I want him to understand I'm not perfect. But like my wife doesn't drink. And I want him to pick up more of her habits because I understand I enjoy making my wine. I enjoy drinking my wine. But at the same note, I don't like getting drunk. I've done that. I can explain to him. And I think having the ability to talk to having that relationship with your kids where you can be comfortable enough to say, I've been stupid enough to make these mistakes. Let me explain to you why. I understand you want to go do it. You want to try. You want to experiment. You want to live a crazy life and live whatever you think you need to live. But on that same note, you need to listen and understand these are the things that can happen if you do it. Without that relationship, without building that bond, that trust, because like I said, for my biological father, a big part of it is he tried to portray as if he's never done it.
Hmm.
But I knew that he's done a lot worse. Like we if he told me he just smoked weed, that would have been like, well, that's the weakest thing that you've ever done in your life. I've heard the stuff. So you kind of lose that trust when they pull that. And then, like, well, how do I talk to you? How do I have a relationship with you if I know you're going to lie to me?
Yeah, I think like the good thing too is about like going through that stuff and kind of having that wisdom is kind of being that gatekeeper to those things. Like I always like think about like the bad stuff in life, and it's like we talk about like the stuff that's like going on in the world, like with like the dangers that just happen from being out in public, and it's like I would rather him find out that stuff through me and have me
Hmm.
be able to control the narrative of that this does exist, but I'm gonna teach you so you know how to um, address these things when they come up. Because like the worst thing you can do is like pretend like something doesn't exist. Like for your example, like I know you did the same stuff as a kid, so now you're trying to pretend like it never happened. Like it just seems very disingenuous. And
Right.
I feel like when you're genuine and you're actually like being truthful and you're presenting in a way that's in a loving, caring way, um, that like, hey, I understand. Like, was it the I was in the country music, and he's like the was it Luke Bryan is like he says like the wisdom would be wasted on the young.
Mm.
Like you need to be young. Like you need to make mistakes. You need to like,
Right.
but our kids are luckily enough and blessed enough to have somebody to help guide them. Like, I feel like
Right.
that's all really any kid needs is that just that guide. Like, hey, take my hand. I'm gonna guide you through. You're gonna go through life. You're gonna make your own mistakes, but I'm gonna make sure that you're the most prepared, the best prepared to take on these challenges because I've one probably gone through them, or two I've seen somebody go through them, and I know what can lead to success either one way or the other. Um, I think that's the hard part about like parents that try to like just um lecture their kids. Like there's no meaning behind it. Like it's like I talked about like
It's lip service.
yeah. Like I don't want my son to serve in the military, but I'm not going to tell him I don't want you to serve in the military because like it's kind of like you kind of it's like when somebody tells you not to think about a purple elephant, you're going to think about a purple elephant. So like if somebody tells you something's wrong and you can't do it, you're almost led to try to want to push back against it. Um, so and
Well,
I was kind of thinking about like the stuff you were talking about, and I was like I don't think we realize how blessed we are in this current time that we're in. Like there's a lot of bad things in this life, and I think the one benefit that we have is even like this medium right here of us talking together right now on the internet,
right.
where in the states, like 20, 30, 40 years ago, like there was no resources like this for you. Like I was like I think about the conversations I have with my son. Like sometimes he'll ask me super hard questions that I can't answer, and it's like I would I'd rather say, hey, let me find out, let me come back to you and tell you the right thing, than pretend I know this. And it's like again, like my pop culture thing is like I was watching the movie Minecraft, and the kid's like, my dad said math was debunked in '85. I'm like, so
It's just
like back like a long time ago, like people would tell you things and you just had to believe them. Like there was like
right.
the meme that said like on the Wonder Years, people would tell you Paul was Marilyn Manson, and you just had to believe them.
I remember that rumor.
Yeah. So like now like you have information at your fingertips that like
Right.
you can find out facts, you can find out reputable sources. and those things are available to you. But like again, it's like with AI coming out,
I was
you
gonna
use AI,
say,
you use AI as a tool rather than like letting it take over things. So like you need to be able to balance the real life part of it, where like I feel like this generation like has just given up on the emotional part of it and has substituted everything that's around now. It's like you need to find a balance and kind of let things kind of um complement each other. And
right,
I feel like if there's anything that people could take away from our conversation today, it's hopefully that, like, there's no perfect way to do it, but hopefully things that we learn and from people we know and like outside sources, we can complement it all to become a better version of ourselves.
yeah, I think that's a good idea. And I would say also with that, also be very straightforward. Be who you are. Don't let your kid find out who you are from someone else because you want to look bigger, better, and more impressive, because all it's going to do is make your kids go, well, you've been lying to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I say those are good takeaways. So, let's do this. We've been talking for a bit over an hour now. If somebody wants to reach out and try to find you and talk to you or watch your show, where do you want them to go and find you?
So they can find me on YouTube at my page name is Dad Mode Activated, but it's at the Dad Mode
Mm-hmm.
Activated. You can also find me on TikTok. You can find me on X. I don't know what my it's Dad Mode Activated. They'll be able to find my links. And they can contact me on there. Comment on any of my videos. I respond 100% to every comment. So feel free to ask any questions. Um, my motivation is to make dads better versions of themselves. Um, my niche is mostly single dads, but I think a lot of the stuff that I discuss is interchangeable with dads that are part of a nuclear family as well too. So
Perfect. And then, of course, Call with Dads. You can find us at callwithdads.com. Find us on YouTube. We gave up on Rumble, so if you're trying to find us on Rumble, you're not getting the new episodes. We post all of our shorts on Facebook, X, Twitter, or TikTok. Just look for us. We're in a lot of places. You can share us. You can let people know about us. That helps us out. Like us. Comment. I try to answer your questions or reply back if I can make sense of what's being said. Again, don't take offense if I say something because I'm not a big people person. So it's my generation. But with that being said, I appreciate everyone being here. And I hope y'all come back for our next week. We're going to start trying to do this every Monday. Live episode about 10 o'clock or so. You can hop on and chit chat with us if you want to make a comment. We're going to have in the future, Tom's going to be joining us. I think next week he said he'll be here. Pastor Ron said he can do some episodes with us every now and then at this time. So it'll be a good time. We'll be answering questions. With that, thank you. Goodbye.